Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Today we will be going over week 2 of my NFL picks. Last week I went 9-7, including some games that absolutely just did not go well, such as the Dolphins. In this game we had the Bears game here. Just why did that happen? Just why? Anyways, we will start off this week with the Washington Commanders heading to the Green Bay Packers. Washington won off the Giants with a solid showing, but I don't feel like that was like the best showing they could have had. Meanwhile, the Packers won off a game that they just absolutely dominated against the Lions. Jordan Love just looked great that game as well. If I were to choose one right now, I feel like I have to go with the Packers. They just outright beat the Lions quite a bit. I wasn't overly impressed with the Commanders, so I'll side with the Packers here. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Cincinnati Bengals. And listen, let me go with the Jaguars first. The Jaguars, they just absolutely beat the Panthers by so much. It was like embarrassing for the Panthers. Their pass rush absolutely got through Bryce Young. Meanwhile, the Bengals, they just barely won off a missed kick. And I feel like with this game, week 2s are usually also a week the Bengals has a slow start, so I'm going to go to Jacksonville here even after a less than ideal win to have the confidence in the Jaguars for a lot of people, but I think the Jaguars do pull off with the win here. Next up, we have the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants, they lost to the Commanders in a fairly poor outing for the Giants. I don't think they are that great of a team. And the Cowboys, they almost won against the Eagles, which that is actually, for week 1, is actually pretty good. Now, the Eagles didn't really use a lot of their best players in offense, and Jalen Carter did end up getting ejected on the first play. But against the Giants, I do have to take the Cowboys. I just have to. There's like no reason for me to pick the Giants this week, especially knowing the history of how the Cowboys usually play the Giants. So you kind of have to go with the Cowboys in this matchup. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. The Bears, they literally blew it against the Vikings, allowing 21 points in the fourth quarter. My pick was like going so well until that point. Anyways, yeah, the Bears blew it, and the Detroit Lions, they lost a bad one to the Green Bay Packers, and it's only really getting a touchdown in garbage time, which was a pretty good touchdown. It just was after it was already decided. So when it comes to this game, I feel like the Lions probably will win this. After this past week, I don't really trust the Bears to win this one, especially the Lions has a talent to beat the Bears. I feel like the Lions' main concern right now is depending on how coaching does for them with the change of coordinators that they have. That's my main concern for the Lions. I would take the Bears against the spread, but yeah, I think it's going to be a close one that the Lions win. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams and the Tennessee Titans. The Rams did not play all too well. However, I do want to consider that the Texans has such a great defense that 14 points is not that bad. Moving on to the Titans, they're another team that is like maybe their defense wins some games, but and they still did not against the Broncos even after forcing 4 turnovers. If you force 4 turnovers and still can only muster up 12 points, you gotta go with the Rams. You have to. There's just no option that's actually available. If you want to take this in Titans against the spread, sure. I still have the Rams against the spread because I think the Titans are that bad, but the Rams will win this game. Next up, we have the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. The Patriots lost one against the Raiders that I don't think it's that bad of a loss. Drake May, he is coming off his rookie season, and this is his first actual Week 1 game. So I could see, especially with the new coaching staff they have, they have some losses in the beginning of the season here. I'm not overly concerned about the Patriots at all. The Dolphins, on the other hand, what happened? You lost 33-8 to the Colts. I thought this game would have been close. You guys just let Daniel Jones get, I don't even remember the passing outs he had, but he absolutely looked great against you guys. Is there a chance the Dolphins end up winning somehow this game? Sure. But I have to roll with the Patriots here. They just absolutely looked good this week. Well, they should look good this week against the Dolphins defense, and I really cannot say too much other than that. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers against the New Orleans Saints. The 49ers won against the Seahawks even after 2 missed field goals. One of them was a block. And after this game, on Tuesday, Jake Moody was cut. And they brought in Eddie Pinheiro. How do I think that's going to fare for them? Eddie Pinheiro is not the best kicker you can have at all, so I feel like he can miss some kicks as well. He's definitely better than Jake Moody, but I feel like he probably can miss some kicks. But this team is also overly injured now, so you'll see how that fares out. But for the New Orleans Saints, they actually almost kind of won against the Cardinals. I thought the Saints was not going to be as good as they are, maybe. But I guess that game proved to me that they could actually fight in games, and they could end up pulling off wins. Who do I think will win this week? Well, the 49ers are all massively injured. They lost George Kittle. They likely do not have Brock Purdy. In fact, Shanahan has even said that Purdy's a long shot to play this week. Meanwhile, the Saints are not that bad of a team that I'm actually going to roll with the Saints. I did not think that I would have a week ago, but here we are. Against an injured 49ers team, I think the Saints are not that bad to where the Saints could win this game. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills against the New York Jets. The Bills won in a crazy Sunday night game this week. They were down 15 points, and they ended up beating the Ravens. That was crazy, actually. Meanwhile, the Jets, they barely lost to the Steelers in a pretty close matchup as well. Now, when it comes to this game, both teams was part of shootouts. One of them won, one of them lost. But I kind of just have to go with the Bills for this one. Meanwhile, they were in shootouts. The Bills was facing a tougher team as well. So I think that will end up causing a little bit of who wins, in my opinion. But, yeah. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Seahawks, even with the 49ers missed kicks, they still won against the Seahawks. I'm not high on the Seahawks. And that game really just proved it to me, honestly. Because the Seahawks just did not look great against the 49ers. Meanwhile, the Steelers, they just won against Jets in a very close shootout. I kind of just have to go with the Steelers with this one. They, at least compared to the Seahawks, I absolutely think the Steelers should win. And they have the better offense. I feel like the Steelers would have the better defense. And there's not really much else that I'm going to say with this game. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns, they barely lost to a missed field goal against the Bengals. Meanwhile, the Ravens, they just barely lost to the Bills after choking the game away. Now, when it comes to this game, I feel like the Ravens are just that much better of a team. Like, the Browns are literally... Here's the thing. With the Browns, I feel like they only was, that competitive to the Bengals because the Bengals wasn't their slow start. And for the Ravens, they choked to one of the better teams of the NFL as well. Because when you think about the top teams of the AFC, Ravens and Bills are two of those that you would say. So, choking against the Bills, it's not going to be like choking against the Browns at all. If they choke against the Browns, I don't know what you are doing. The Ravens should win this one comfortably. They did end up getting to 15 points over the Bills. So I think they could do even more against the Browns. Next up, we have the Broncos and the Colts. The Broncos, they did not look good against the Titans one bit. Bo Nix had 2 interceptions. There was 2 fumbles. It was caused by the Titans in that game. It was just not good at all. Meanwhile, for the Colts, they won 33-8 against the Dolphins. Daniel Jones looked excellent that game. The defense did amazing against the Dolphins' offense. What I think will happen this game, I think both defenses will do their part, and I think the least turnovers is going to win. Or least mistakes, least turnovers, that kind of thing. Which, assuming from week 1, I kind of have to go with the Colts on the turnover thing. Do I think the Colts will have a turnover this game compared to last game? Probably. Daniel Jones is probably not going to play as good this week. However, I do trust him over Bo Nix for this game. So I am going to go with the Colts. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Carolina Panthers absolutely just did not play well this past week. They lost 26-10 against the Jaguars in a just horrible game for Bryce Young. I do not expect the Panthers to win that many games compared to what I thought previously. And yeah, they're just not that good of a team. While in the Arizona Cardinals, they let the Saints in it for way too long. And I don't know if I could really trust them for a lot of games coming up. But for this game, I do have to trust the Cardinals since they are going against the Panthers. Do I trust them in any future games? Probably not, but this is probably one of those games that I would trust the Cardinals in still. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles barely won against the Cowboys. They almost let CD get some touchdowns in that last few minutes. Surprisingly enough, they did not have A.J. Brown do anything, though. A.J. Brown only had one target throughout the entire game, and that was also in the fourth quarter. So we'll see how that ends up going this week. Meanwhile, for the Chiefs, they lost Xavier Worthy and went 0-1 to the Chargers. Now, I do have quite a bit of question marks about how they're going to do their passing game for these upcoming weeks, since they don't have Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy. I think the Eagles just have the more talent right now, especially in the passing game, to where I have to pick the Eagles in this one. However, I could see the Chiefs end up getting, I don't know, just kind of like what I thought last week, where the Chiefs just somehow get the win. I could see that happening, but I'm going to pick the Eagles in this one. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. The Falcons, they lost a close one to the Buccaneers. They essentially just lost by a field goal. But honestly, it should not have been as close as it was, since the Buccaneers missed even more kicks than what the Falcons did. But I think the Falcons should bounce back in this one. Meanwhile, the Vikings, kind of like what I said with the Bears earlier, they had 21 points in the fourth quarter to win it. I don't think that's going to happen again this week. I think the Falcons do end up winning. It's going to be a closer game than what some people would say, but I do think that the Falcons outright win this one. Next up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Houston Texans. The Bucs, they barely won against the Falcons. Again, I mentioned it just like a minute ago when I was doing the Falcons and Vikings one, that the Buccaneers had quite a few missed kicks. So that 23 could have been like 27. Meanwhile, for the Houston Texans, they lost a defensive battle, like a boring defensive battle against the Los Angeles Rams, only scoring 9 points, not even a touchdown. I do think the Falcons' defense was pretty good against the Bucs, considering Baker Mayfield didn't even have 6 average passing yards, which maybe he may not this game. Maybe the Texans end up doing a similar, because the Texans' defense is pretty good as well. But how much do I trust the Texans' offense this game? I'm going to say the Bucs win this one, but I think it's going to be a pretty close game. And Monday night was probably the good call for this week for where this game's at. Finally, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders at 9 o'clock. I know I'm in Central Time, but 9 o'clock? The Eastern folks is going to have in this game at end of 1 a.m. Anyways, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chargers barely winning against the Chiefs off of Justin Herbert's slide. They didn't do that well rushing last game. Justin Herbert had to have 300 yards to beat Mahomes. That's the kind of thing that You probably shouldn't have to, but at the same time, it's the Chargers, so and the Chiefs is usually one against them, so I'm not going to complain too much right now. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, they won against the Patriots after Geno Smith had a day. When it comes to this game, I think the Chargers are going to end up winning. I don't think Geno Smith is going to have as big as a day as he had last time. Maybe Ashton Gianti ends up doing better this game, but at the end of the day, I do think the Chargers will get the win. And that was my Week 1 NFL pick, Week 2 NFL picks for the 2025 NFL season. If you guys liked this video, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.